Fall has always been one of my favorite seasons the last 4 years at Penn State. The days become cooler, the leaves start changing colors, and I got to go to Beaver Stadium most Saturdays to watch the blue and white. But on July 23, 2012, the NCAA imposed a series of very harsh sanctions on the Penn State football program due to the lack of action and the actions of former defensive coordinator Jerry Sandusky and a group of Penn State administrators and officials. However, I strongly believe that the actions taken by the NCAA were not the best actions to take and were wrong, simply because they penalized the wrong group of people. As a Penn State senior, I have lived through the events that took place after the scandal occurred, and I also read the report released by Louis Freeh concerning the details about what happened with Jerry Sandusky. That being said, because I was a Penn State student and this hit so close to home, I have closely followed all of the reports, findings, and news articles that have been released concerning the actions caused by Jerry Sandusky. And although many of you probably aren't Penn State students and have no connection to Penn State or Penn State football whatsoever, this is still a very important topic due to the unprecedented actions taken by the NCAA that had such a large impact on an academic institution like Penn State. Not only did this have an effect on the football team, it also affected the team's competitors, the students, and the future students. Therefore, during this presentation, I will discuss some of the major sanctions that took place after the announcements from the NCAA and explain to you why the NCAA had no right to impose them, why they should be removed, and how they are unjustly penalizing innocent people. The first sanction I would like to discuss stated that Penn State would lose 80 athletic scholarships from the football program over the course of 4 years. I completely understand why NCAA President Mark Emmert would like to stress the importance of academics over athletics. But how exactly does costing 80 students their scholarships show that academics is more important than athletics? One could argue that these students could easily come to Penn State as everyone else without their athletic scholarships. However, Penn State is definitely not a cheap school to attend. In fact, it's actually the second most expensive public institution behind the University of Pittsburgh, which was stated in the Business Insider in 2014. In fact, Penn State students paid $16,090 during the 2012-2013 academic school year. So not only did the NCAA cost the Penn State football program 80 scholarships, it also cost 80 students their educations. Emmert stated that football will never again be placed ahead of educating, nurturing, and protecting young people, which was quoted in the Huffington Post in 2012. However, he himself placed athletic importance over academics by taking away these 80 scholarships and therefore taking away 80 educational opportunities for these students. This is especially true because Penn State football has an 85% graduation rate, which is 15% higher than the National Division I average, which was said in Penn State News in 2013. It just doesn't make sense to take away someone's educational opportunities and their athletic achievements for something that they themselves had absolutely nothing to do with. The second sanction imposed upon Penn State stated that there would be a 4-year postseason bowl ban on the program. The problem with this is that, again, this bowl ban is punishing the wrong group of people. The student athletes currently at Penn State weren't even in high school when the actions by Jerry Sandusky were committed in the late 90s and early 2000s. In fact, Most of the people who were involved with this are no longer at the university. The coaches were fired, the administrators and officials were fired, and Jerry Sandusky was awaiting trial. How exactly does punishing an entire group of people who were not in any way involved in the scandal make sense? Those who were responsible should have been fired, which they were. So why continue to punish innocent people who have nothing to do with any of this? In addition, the postseason ban was estimated to cost Penn State $13 million due to the fact they were not allowed to receive any of the revenues from the conference's bowl games. This was stated in Sporting News in 2012. Another sanction stated that Penn State had to pay $60 million to a special fund for the prevention of child abuse. When you add these two totals together, Penn State is already in the hole $73 million. It was stated by Penn State itself in 2012 that these funds were expected to have no impact on the scope and quality of the university's academic enterprise or on student tuition costs. In July, however, Penn State trustee Al Lord stated that the Freer report caused Penn State financial and reputable damage when he was quoted on Philly.com in 2014. This proves that the sanctions did in fact hit Penn State financially hard, especially because the year following the sanctions, tuition increased by 3.9% and is again expected to increase by another 3% for this upcoming academic school year. As I've stated, Penn State is already expensive enough as it is, without current and future students having to pay for these repercussions caused by the NCAA. Penn State students are already expected to be $35,000 in debt upon graduation. So why do we have to pay for these crimes we had nothing to do with, all in order to punish a group of student athletes who also had nothing to do with these crimes? Although I didn't cover all of the sanctions, it's still easy to see how those I did cover were unjust and had absolutely no merit. They were directed at and penalized the wrong group of people, especially because these people were being penalized in such a way that is affecting them academically and financially. Because of the unprecedented actions taken by the NCAA, first, by not conducting their own investigation and by also not providing any allegations, thousands of students and athletes were forced to suffer financially because of their actions that they took in order to punish a group of people who was no longer even here. It's because of these reasons that I strongly believe the NCAA was completely wrong in imposing these sanctions upon the Penn State football program simply because they are punishing the wrong group of people. Going back to my previous experience as a Penn State student, it's so much easier to enjoy those beautiful fall days up at Beaver Stadium when you don't have to worry about the repercussions charged by the NCAA due to the actions of a few men. It is not our responsibility to pay for what damages this group of individuals caused.